Welcome to the Punch Out. I'm your host, Alex McNinch, and welcome back to another episode this Friday. The end of the week is here. A lot of baseball news to talk about. Very heavy news week, and that's kind of what these Friday podcasts are going to be all about. There are going to be the overloading of news throughout the week and preparing you for the weekend ahead. Normally Mondays are pretty simple. So that's why last week's was fairly shorter than even what normally how short these would be. But we had a lot of stuff this week, whether it was extension talk, suspension talk, or just other play on the field that needs to be covered. We're going to cover it all here today and get you prepared for the games ahead. Follow me on all my social medias as you can at the Punch Out Pod on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I'm gonna start posting more on Twitter. I realize I haven't been doing that. You get the link tree. Share the podcast with a friend that you know wants to watch baseball or likes baseball. Share this podcast with them. Spread the message. Spread the word about this show, because every week we're gonna start adding some stuff new that kind of spruces up the show a little bit, makes it its own, and we'll debut some of that here later in the show, but. Overall, we've got a lot of things to cover, and the first of which we need to cover are the bags being handed out to players this week in extensions. 4 contract extensions given out this week to all-star players or all-star or future all-star players. A couple of things to start out with for that organization, or for a certain organization, is the Boston Red Sox, and they have been heavily criticized over the past few years, kind of in the idea of not being able to spend money. Their ownership was called cheap. Their front office had turnover and was called cheap as well. And it felt like the Red Sox steered away from what the Red Sox were before, which were these power-hungry owners that were ready to win no matter what, at any means cost. And they were throwing caution to the wind to do so. They have resisted to give out a multi-year contract to players. They give one to Masataka Yoshida, and it did not really pan out to where they want it to, obviously, but now they have the opportunity to extend players that they've acquired and drafted and can keep them in Boston forever, and they're going to do so with the ace of their rotation in Garrett Crochet, their biggest addition this offseason outside of Alex Bregman. The biggest addition in the pitching staff out of everyone is Garrett Crochet. 6 years, $170 million for Garrett Crochet. There's an opt-out in 2030 that allows them to get the extra vesting option for 2031. What a deal for the Red Sox to get Crochet on 6/170, which if he waited another year, he could have gotten 250 plus based on how he played this year. But the Red Sox locked him in for this year and allowed him and trusted in him, and both sides were able to get to agreement. The cool thing about this deal for the Red Sox is obviously, hopefully that none of this has to be put into play. But Crochet, there's an option within the deal that if he is to have an injury that makes him miss 120 days or more of the season because of the injury, the Red Sox will have another option at the end of the contract for another year onto the extension, which is unreal, because you're talking about a guy in Crochet who's come off multiple arm injuries. Tommy John surgery, is just starting to learn how to be a starter in the majors. So, there could be a risk that happens there. And if that's the case, then you get Garrett Crochet for another year, and you're getting him into his age 32 season, maybe even 33, depending on how long you can push back this option for. So what a deal for the Red Sox. And if you didn't think that was a steal for the Red Sox, Christian Campbell locks himself in to being a Red Sox for the next 8 years. 8 years, $60 million. $60 million for Christian Campbell to be the cornerstone of your infield for the next 8 years. There are 2 club options, a part of it in 2023 or 2033 and 2034 that are going to be higher money value options. But this is what we saw them do last year with Cedar Rafaela and Brian Bayo, giving them the early extensions and then eventually having the 2 club options at the end for a higher dollar to kind of give them their fair value. That way it kind of pays out their arbitration years. And this is an amazing move by the Red Sox. Christian Campbell, we'll talk about him later when we get to the last segment of the show, but he is on fire. He is everything and more of what we expected him to be as Red Sox fans. Come out hitting the ball hard every single time. Really, really good defense. Knocking on wood, don't jinx it, but he's been amazing. And that's a great job of the Red Sox getting those 2 signings and extensions. The next guy getting extended, another bag being handed out, Jackson Merrill, 9 years, $135 million straight up to him to be the cornerstone, or be one of the cornerstone pieces of this Padres franchise, with Tatis being the other guy that they have for sure locked up 10 plus years. This is a great deal for the Padres because, again, similar to how Crochet was, if Jackson Merrill waited another year, he's looking at 250 plus, So great on the Padres to get this pushed forward and extend him early and allow Merrill, who, if you don't know much about Jackson Merrill, was a rookie last year, was one of the best rookies in the majors. Unfortunately, he had to go up against Paul Skeens for that award. But this is a guy that throughout the minors was a shortstop and never really moved off the infield. And they asked him, hey, can you play center field for us opening day? And they got him ready, and he's played Gold Glove caliber center field for them. And has been really effective with the bat as well. And getting him for a long time is obviously a very important thing for them. And they went out and did it. And I applaud the Padres, who have a lot of the stuff going on behind the scenes. They have figured out a way to win and figured out a way to keep the guys there that should be there. We'll get to the Padres more in a little bit. And then the Arizona Diamondbacks lock in their second baseman, Ketel Marte, 6 years, $116 million, a player option coming in 2031. Now, he was in arbitration throughout this time, and they just went ahead and bought out his arbitration years, not really worrying about any of that, skipping all of that mess that comes with arbitration. A lot of people said this is a pointless extension, and I can understand why, because you're getting them on arbitration every single year, but the more arbitration you're going to go through, the more you can frustrate your players. Ketel Marte is a guy that you don't want to frustrate when he's one of your best players. He's been one of your most consistent players for years now. He had a breakout year last year. Feels like that's his peak. So why not lock him in on this extension and have him for sure with your organization and not have to worry about him being disgruntled because of different negotiation processes. If anything else happens, obviously, that is not going to have to do with the money or anything. So great job on the D-backs to get him kind of, I guess, locked in, but kind of have your infield set for a little while, as they were handing out extensions all offseason to Justin Martinez, Geraldo Perdomo, guys like that they've been able to lock in on their team and shore up that infield for them. So yeah, all the extensions that happened this week, it felt weird why they were all just happening, but it's the beginning of the season. You got to see a couple of games of the players and be like, yep, this is for sure what we want to do. So I'm pumped to see everybody get paid. That's the only thing you want, is you want to see these guys get paid. You want to see your team succeed, but you also want to see these guys get paid for sure. The other big news that happened this week, I posted it on my TikTok on, I guess it was Monday or Tuesday, whenever it happened, but Jurickson Profar was suspended for using or violating the MLB's policy of performance enhancements, and it was a wild moment for that to happen. Now, if you want to learn more about that and see more about that, you're going to have to go to the TikTok at the Punch Out Pod to kind of see it a little bit more about everything that I talk about in there. But basically, he got busted using an enhancement drug, a pregnancy hormone, and news has come out kind of with it and the history of it. Manny Ramirez was also caught using it as well in his younger career. So this is not the first time somebody has been using it. I believe it's HCG is what it is that they both used. But Profar suspended for 80 games for the Atlanta Braves, was just signed there this offseason from the San Diego Padres, where he had a career year last year. Was a former number 1 overall prospect and number 1 overall player, and just never really panned out and couldn't find a home. Thought he found a home in San Diego. They wouldn't pay him. Went to Atlanta, thought he would find a home there, being in the top 3 of the batting order, and now busted for PEDs, suspended 80 games. And even when he comes back from his 80-game suspension, he will not be eligible for the postseason. That is a massive, massive, massive thing because now you're having to scramble if you're the Braves because you locked in Profar to be your switch hitting guy up at the top of the lineup with Acuna and Albies and Olsen and Riley, who just all have underperformed outside of Acuna, who hasn't played yet. But now you're having to scramble at the deadline or throughout the season trying to figure out, well, who's this outfielder that we can put out there? Kelenic is there that they have in right, so do they go back and sign Adam Duvall for a 15th time? They signed Alex Verdugo right before the season started, so they have that as an option in AAA. They just traded and acquired Stuart Fairchild from the Reds, who's played some games there. So obviously, it's not as great not a great situation to have. But now with Acuna coming back, you can at least slide Kelenic over and keep that bat in the lineup if he performs. But who knows? But the Braves, awful start. 0-7. This is I believe there's a stat that says that nobody that has started the season 0-7 has ever went to the playoffs before. It's going to be an uphill battle to climb for the Braves because their lineup is garbage, and the guys you expect to produce are just not producing, as we mentioned a second ago. And when you play the Padres your first series, that's tough, and then when you have to play the Dodgers right after that, that's even more tough. And the Dodgers are unbelievable 8-0 start for the Dodgers. A lot of people are starting to question, will they go 162-0? Not a chance that that's happening. There's zero chance that that's happening. I can give you the guarantee right now on the Punch Out Pod that the Dodgers will not win 162 games in the regular season this year. I can guarantee you that right now today. But they're a damn good baseball team. Ohtani on bobblehead night, when they were down by a lot, it looked like the Braves were potentially going to get their first win of the season, and then they had an early 4-0 lead, I believe, and then Tommy Edman, Michael Conforto, and then Shohei Ohtani eventually ending the game for this team, and they're amazing. They're amazing. There's nothing else you can really say. They're getting pitchers back still. Dustin May made his first start since 2023. So that's another piece of the puzzle you're getting back. You're eventually going to get more guys into the bullpen. Freddie Freeman's still hurt, so the lineup isn't even complete. You're having to play Kike Hernandez at first base. So it's not even a fully healthy lineup, and they're still this good. They'll have a good test this weekend again against the Phillies. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But Dodgers, unbelievable start. Braves, unbelievably bad start for them. So yeah, that's quite unfortunate for the Braves. I didn't write down who they play this weekend, so let me do that really quick and look. They play the Marlins. Okay, so the Braves have a chance to get some games off. The Marlins have been playing really well as well here to start the year, but the Braves have an opportunity to face some pitching that they haven't had to see yet in a lesser fashion. So maybe this is their chance to be able to get some wins off, or a win off at least. Other notes, at least the Yankees have kind of cooled off a little bit after the whole torpedo bat situation going on. The Diamondbacks came into the Bronx and was pretty dominant, or I wouldn't say dominant. They were pretty dominant in the late innings. Got off to early leads, the Yankees did, and then Arizona kind of fought back and really kind of just put them in a position to be able to win. And Eugenio Suarez, we have talked about him already on the podcast many times, and we're going to continue to talk about him. We'll get to him a little bit later, but grand slam to put them ahead in Game 1 after Corbin Burns made his debut and punched out 8, and then Zach Gallen punched out, I believe, 13 maybe in Game 2 or 12 or something. Zach Gallen is now the first player to ever throw 10-plus strikeouts for the Diamondbacks versus the New York Yankees, which is kind of crazy to think about, that he's the only person ever, especially when they've played in the World Series in the past and had those good teams. Zach Gallen is the first player ever to do that against the Yankees as a member of the Diamondbacks. But, I mean, both teams look good. Both teams, it wasn't a wake-up call for the Yankees, but it definitely was a reality check from what had happened in the first series where the Brewers were just throwing them meatballs down the middle. And then the Diamondbacks coming off playing a really solid Cubs team, so they were already prepared to come play in an environment against a good ball club. And Sure, the Yankees still mashing. Yeah, Aaron Judge just hit his 5th home run last night. Jazz Chisholm just hit his 4th home run. So there's definitely some mashing still going on with the Yankees now. Again, we're going to continue to monitor this situation that everybody is freaking out about with the torpedo bats. And once we get a larger sample size, we'll be able to see. I know Alex Bregman used the torpedo bat and didn't like it. And then he brought it out yesterday and he hit a home run. So really, it's just kind of whatever suits for your player or for the player is kind of what they're gonna go with. Other things from the weekend. Need to talk about this Sacramento baseball stadium. The Athletics are playing in Sacramento. It is home run alley. Kyle Tucker in that series, hot start. He hit 4 home runs in a row in consecutive games, stretching back to the Diamondback series. And then Seiya Suzuki was unbelievable over the weekend. 7 for 15 in Sacramento. Carson Kelly, their catcher, hit for the cycle. 12 home runs total for both teams in the 3-game series. And that's something we're going to have to look at as well, because obviously the AL West has some power hitting in it with the Rangers. And if they're going to be going to Sacramento and playing games, oh boy, look out. Corey Seager. They have the fern out in center and right center, and then the grass in right field where parents and families can go sit and watch the game on lawn chairs. They better watch out and they watch their kids' heads, because when Corey Seager's out there for the Rangers and he gets a fastball, those kids better duck and cover, because those baseballs are going to be flying out there. But that's something to note about and to watch for as we go forward when it comes to the games in Sacramento and that ballpark. It's a minor league ballpark. What are you expecting, obviously, when major league players play in a minor league park? But it's also something to really pay attention to, because this could really impact, the home run rates. And if, people are talking about, well, the home runs are up this year. It's like, well, you got to play in Sacramento and in Tampa's stadiums for this amount of years and, whatever. So also got to pay attention to that as well. When it comes to this season and counting stats. And then the last thing from the week, the Padres finished off the week 7-0, sweeping the Cleveland Guardians, who won 93 games just a year ago. The bullpen in their 3 games only gave up 1 run, and it came in the final game. They were unbelievable. Michael King had a great start. Dylan Cease had a great start. They were shelling the Guardians pitching staff. Kyle Hart was a part of this as well. Like they were rolling, and the Padres are going to continue to roll into this weekend in a big series that we'll talk about here in just a second. And let's hop right into it right now. What are the games to watch this weekend? I got 3 series that I am really, really interested in watching, and then I got 3 pitching matchups that I'm very interested to watch for as well. The Padres and Cubs is my number 1 series to watch this weekend. 2 teams that have been playing really, really good baseball. Obviously, the Padres we just mentioned, and the Cubs we just mentioned as well. Though this will be the home opener in Wrigley. Whenever you get a chance to watch Wrigley Field on a Friday afternoon or in home opener in Wrigley, it's a spectacle, and it's just one of those historical things that you gotta love as a baseball fan. But it's gonna be a great series this weekend between those two teams that have been really hot so far. Imanaga is going to start today for the Cubs, I believe, and the Padres aren't really pitching their best, but we'll see how that kind of goes for both clubs. The second series to pay attention to, the Dodgers versus the Phillies, the 2 top dogs, favorites in their divisions at the start of the year. They've got a great series coming up in Philadelphia. The Dodgers get away from the West Coast. Now they play in a different ballpark. Let's see how they play. I'm predicting they get their first loss this weekend. And then the final series that I'm really looking forward to watching are the Mariners and the Giants. And this is a battle of the pitching matchup. It's in San Francisco, so it's a pitcher's ballpark. I'm not really too curious about the Mariners lineup too much, but the Giants have been swinging it really well and gotten off to a good start so far this year. So how the pitching matchup's going to be watching this weekend. So that'll be fun to watch. And then the 3 pitching matchups, we got Roki Sasaki versus Aaron Nola on Saturday. That'll be awesome. I believe it's probably a 6 o'clock game on Fox, I assume. Drew Rasmussen versus Kumar Rocker on Sunday. That is the Rays versus the Rangers. I didn't really care about the series as a whole, but when Rocker and Rasmussen are also there, that is something that you want to watch because they are both incredible pitchers. And then the other one is Logan Gilbert taking on Jordan Hicks from that Mariners and Giants series. especially in a ballpark in San Francisco where the ball's going to be kept in the ballpark. There's no doubt about that. So that's going to be a game to watch for, or that's going to be a pitching matchup to watch for over the weekend, because it's probably going to end out in a couple of no earned runs for both of those guys, even though Logan Gilbert's kind of struggled to start the year. So that's all the games and stuff that's happening this week. And as I mentioned at the start, we're going to be debuting a new segment onto the show. I mean, I'm going to do it every single episode now at the end of the episode. It's going to be called the Punch List. This is basically just all these weird, crazy stats that I've researched and looked up and figured out, and get to produce out there for everybody here, just for some good information and some good random stats that you may just want to kind of figure out and know. And it helps us recap some of the other player performances throughout the week that we don't highlight in a bigger fashion in the main segment of the show. So we'll start out with the Cardinals. Ivan Herrera, their catcher, had a 3-home run game. He's the first Cardinal catcher with a 3-home run game. He's the 6th St. Louis Cardinal player in the wild card era, so from 1995, I believe, or 96 to today. He's the 6th Cardinal player in the wild card era to hit 3 home runs in a game. Matt Carpenter, Paul DeJong, Paul Goldschmidt, Mark McGwire, and Albert Pujols all did it as well. Talked about Eugenio Suarez earlier as well, and him off to a hot start. Eugenio Suarez's 5 home runs in 6 games, most since Cody Bellinger did it in 2019, where he hit 6 home runs in the first 6 games, ended up winning Rookie of the Year that year. Suarez off to a hot start. Let's go back to the Red Sox here. Christian Campbell is the first Red Sox in the wild card era to have a 1,300 OPS in the first 7 games since Bill Selby did it in 1996. He had a 1,406 OPS, obviously showing how great of a start it has been for Christian Campbell to start the year. Even though the Braves have not been good this year, they have some bright spot within my segment here. Marcell Ozuna, not the best guy, but good ball player. 13 walks in 7 games. That is the most in a 7-game stretch since Gary Sheffield did it with the Florida Marlins in 1997. He had 14 walks in the first 7 games. Obviously, Gary Sheffield, being who he is, that is a big accomplishment or good territory to be in if you're Marcell Ozuna. The Minnesota Twins, I picked them to win the division. They have not looked good at all, so that's going to be coming right back at me for that, to piggyback on how bad they've been playing. The Twins have now had a starting pitcher give up 9 or more runs in less than 3 innings or less of a start for the past 4 out of 5 seasons that they've had, and it happened twice in 2024 and twice in 2021. That is awful. Chris Paddock got shelled against the White Sox on, I believe it was Tuesday night. Sticking with the Twins, and they started a series with the Astros last night. Jose Altuve struck out for the first time in his career 5 times in a game. That is the first time in his 14 years of playing he has struck out 5 times or more. Absolutely wild to think about. Absolutely wild to think about when it comes to Jose Altuve and how consistent he has been at the plate to not strike out for 5 times. Now, obviously, 4 times being striking out is more common of an occurrence because of the at-bats you get in a game, but that still is crazy to even wrap your head around, that in 14 years he's never struck out 5 times in a game. Just shows how good he is despite all the other allegations and scandals that go on with him in the Astros organization. Some other good ones here. Charlie Morton for the Baltimore Orioles is the oldest player in Baltimore Orioles history to have 10 plus strikeouts in a game. He is 41 years old, threw 10 Ks yesterday in the series finale against the Red Sox. Jeffrey Springs, acquired by the Oakland Athletics in the offseason from the Tampa Bay Rays, is the first A's pitcher to throw 9 plus strikeouts in his team debut since Pete Broberg did it in 1978. So that's the first time that a guy who has newly been acquired to the A's has come out in his first start with the team and been unbelievable. And then the final one to leave off here, we talked about him just a little bit ago and talked about the Yankees. And when you're talking about the Yankees right now, you're talking about history. Jazz Chisholm is the first Yankee second baseman with 4 home runs in the first 7 games. Now, he's the first guy to do that, but he's also the first guy to do it in the first 10 games since Robinson Cano did it in 2010. And Robinson Cano in 2010 was in probably his best year of his career, 2010, 2011, 2012. Those were his best 3 years. I'd say 2010 is probably his best season overall. So yeah, Jazz Chisholm in great company as well there. Those were all of the notes and the stats I got here from the punch list. Like I said, I'm going to keep doing this. I've got some random stuff that I can keep looking up. And as the games go on and there's more stats to kind of accumulate and some weirder things to look at, we can dive into it more and do it. I just feel like this is something I love doing, is searching these random stats, and being able to share them would be a cool thing as well. And we're going to post them to the social media platforms as well. So again, go follow all the social media platforms at the Punch Out Pod: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. All of it's covered wherever you want to watch my short content or check out some other content that I have. Be a friend, tell whoever you know that might like baseball that we got this podcast going, and if they would like it, please share it. I appreciate you all for listening again. I'm going to try to keep these episodes fairly short. Now, I'll be responsive to feedback. If they're too short, then that's fine. I don't think there's anything is too short. When it comes to a podcast, I think people prefer, shorter form of content, but you never know. If I talk too fast, you can tell me to kind of slow down and maybe expand a little bit more on things. I think as I get more into the season and there's more thoughts to kind of go around, I think it's going to be a little bit better, just because right now it's hard to overreact to things when I know in my head, and most people know in their heads, that right now, you can't really tell what a team is at all. But once we get into May and June, then the takes are starting to fly. Because I've got takes when it needs to be. And we haven't even had the Red Sox catch a winning streak yet, because when the Red Sox get hot, I'm unbearable. So I hope you keep tuning in no matter what throughout all that. I appreciate you all for listening. Enjoy all the games this weekend. Watch some baseball. Spread the news on the podcast. Spread the news on everything else. And I'll see you guys on Monday.